Hi kindergarten teachers, this is Sonia. I just wanted to send a quick video to you guys to kind of finish up some of the things that we didn't have a chance to talk about on Monday, um, especially one that I think is hopefully you guys will find really helpful and important. So I just wanted to talk to you about some using rubrics for ELA. To, the idea is that having standards grouped together in rubrics will make it easier for you guys to record scores, that you won't have to click so many times on different standards to record scores for things like speaking and listening and reading literature and reading informational text. So, real quick, I want to show you how you can find these rubrics and these assessments, if you want to call them that, where you can record data for these skills. And then I want to show you kind of how they work. There are a couple different versions of them. I wasn't sure which one you guys would prefer, so I just put them both there. They are not on the curriculum map, so it's something that you'll have to find the assessment in Mastery Connect, which I'll show you how to do that, and put them onto your tracker on your own, because it's not something we're going to require that you use, but it is a tool that's out there that I hope will make things a little bit easier for you. So when you go to Mastery Connect, here's what your screen looks like right at first. You'll click on Assessments, and if in the search box you type QU space 2 for quarter 2, and then choose Language Arts, and choose Kindergarten, this should make it pretty easy for you to find these rubrics. So you can see right here is one, Reading Informational Text, quarter 2, with a 0, and I'll tell you what that means in a minute. If I scroll down a little bit, then you can see Reading Informational Text, quarter 2, Reading Literature Standards, quarter 2, with a 0. If I keep going, we can see the Speaking and Listening Standards for quarter 2, the Reading Literature without the 0, and then the Speaking and Listening Standards, again, without the 0. So all you'll have to do is choose the one you want and click over here and add it to your tracker. I would recommend that you choose one for Speaking and Listening, one for RL, Reading Literature, and one for RI. And what this will do is it will group together the standards that are in our curriculum for second quarter so that you can go to one place and enter your data for those. The difference between the with a 0 and without a 0, let me show you that on my tracker. So if I choose to take the one with the 0, I just click here on Add to Tracker, and it's going to put it right into my ELA tracker. And you'll want to do that, like I said, for the RI, the RL, and the Speaking and Listening. So I already have those added to my tracker, so I'm going to come over here to my tracker, and I'm going to show you how those will work if you choose to use them. So here's one of my sample trackers, and you can see the columns that have a gray tab at the top, those are the multi-standard assessments. So these that we just added will show up as multi-standard assessments. If I scroll over here, you can see I've added Reading Literature Standards, quarter 2, with a 0. Here is Reading Literature Standards, quarter 2. This one would be without the 0. So the benefit of having the 0 is when I come here and I enter data for these different standards, I can fill in zeros for everybody. So it's going to make everybody's red, and that will be a sign for me if it's red and I think it shouldn't be a red student, that I haven't entered data for that student yet. So the idea here is that you can be working with a reading group or working with your whole group and think, okay, today I gave certain children an opportunity to answer a question that would fit under RLK 5. So if I jot down the names of those students, then later I can come back and I can just enter, let's say that I had my student number 3 who who was able to recognize a common type of text, told me we were going to read a book versus a poem today. So then I could just say, okay, he or she did that, so I can check a 3 for that one. The next one you can see here with prompting and support, name the author and illustrator. So did this child do that today? yes or no, I can click a 3. I can click they tried but didn't get it successfully, a 1 or a 2, or didn't have an opportunity today. So I want to just be sure that I mark that I have entered some scores for the student that I want to show up. So then I have to put zeros for the others for now. If you use the form that doesn't have the 0, then none of the scores will show up for student 3 until there's a score entered in every column on this multi-standard assessment. So let me show you that on the other one. And this one, because I entered the zeros, then I can see the 3. If I was on the one that did not have the zeros and I had one standard that hadn't been scored, it would save the scores that I entered, but it would not show them here until everyone was full. I hope that makes sense. That's probably the most confusing part. So let's go to my tracker and I'll show you what that one looks like when I don't have the zeros. So here's the one that I put, and like I said before, you're going to want to choose whether you have the zeros or not the zeros. You don't necessarily need to do both of them. So if I click on this one to enter scores, so here's if I'm going to grade for student 1, and it pulls it up here, and you can see I have entered scores for student 1, but I haven't entered scores for everything. So that's why student 1 still says grade answers, because until I have scores for every question, every standard on this rubric, then it won't show the scores. In my mind, that's the benefit of having the one with the 0, because then I can see which ones are done and which ones are not. And talking with other teachers, not everybody liked that idea because they were afraid if they saw that the 0 would be red, so they would just see the red and think that it was finished. So it kind of depends on how you think it might work in your mind. So here's an example of how we have grouped the standards together, and there's a rubric there to help you with the grading. But this way I can grade all 4 of these standards in one place instead of having to click on each standard individually in my tracker. And just real quick so you can see, that was RLK 5. Let's see if we can see where those are. So here's the speaking and listening one. And you can see hopefully that they're feeding into where they should be. I have all the quarters checked, so it's a little bit confusing. So here we go. So I hope that helped to show you how I have put these rubrics into ELA for you guys to hopefully group the standards like speaking and listening, reading literature, and reading informational text so that you can grade them, so you can enter that data, enter those observations or information you've gathered on checklists in a more simplified way than having to create a raw score for every one of those standards. I'd love to hear if you guys use this, how you feel like it works. Please give me feedback on how we could improve it or make it easier for next quarter. Or if you have a better way to do this. This is just kind of a little bit of brainstorming between me and a few other teachers trying to figure out how to make having information for every standard a little bit easier for you guys. And just real quick, I want to be sure that you guys have figured out how to move those scores from standards to substandards. I think that the problem we were having the other day, and we figured it out right at the end, was that you were updating the assessments that came up on that first page when you clicked on, make the updates to the assessments, but the actual assessment that we needed to update was maybe further on page 3. So what we need to do is we need to narrow our search, like Sarah Latimer was telling us at the end. We need to narrow that search down to English language arts, and then the kindergarten so that we can find that quarter one assessment that needs to be changed. That should move, if you use that assessment and it's the only scores you entered, that should move those grades to the standard and not the substandard, and then allow for you to delete the substandard. Again, if you need help with that, give me a shout. I'd be glad to come and help you. And then finally, here are the list of standards, substandards you can delete in your tracker, as well as the language arts ones for the lowercase and uppercase letters once you get those scores moved. Finally, I just want to remind you, if today is the last day to go to the DESE website and send comments on House Bill 1490, the new standards that are proposed. If you have a chance to do this today, I highly recommend it. I think the impact that we can make on the decision is very valuable and truly could have a big impact on us and our teaching and our curriculum writing in future years. So thanks for listening. Give me a shout, email, or phone call, whatever works. If you need my help, or feel free to grab one of your other instructional coaches. We are here for you. Have a great day.